Happy Super Bowl weekend. Welcome to SportsKnight. We've got a lot of action to talk about, so let's not waste any time.
That's right, Justin. We've got a home track meet. It was senior night in wrestling, and it was Beat Luther week on the basketball court.
Kyle, you're wasting time.
Fine.
Get a little bit of payback for him from last time.
It was a busy week on the court with 6 games taking place throughout the week.
Plus, I followed the wrestling team to Dubuque for the Iowa Conference duels. I'll let you know how the Knights did.
And the track team was in action this Saturday in a meet where second place was last place.
Welcome to the studio. We guarantee this will be the best sports show you watch all day.
But if you follow sports, you know that guarantees usually go about as far as Peyton Manning in the playoffs.
But this time, it'll be different. First up is the women's basketball team. It was Beat Luther week, and Wednesday night the women's basketball team competed in a close one. SportsKnight's Brian Jorgensen covered the game and has all the action. The Knights had good passing early as Carly Jacobs finds Bailey O'Brien for the first 2 points of the game. The Knights, however, will get in trouble with their passing. This pass stolen by Luther's Logan Jerlin, who takes the ball all the way for the easy 2. Carly Jacobs then has a great spin move to get past her defender and makes a hard shot look easy. The Norse would then find Jerlin on the inbounds pass. She hits a 3 to put the Norse up 11-8. The Knights had a lot of turnovers early on, but with good passing, the Knights were able to find Allison Emmerich for 2. And at halftime, the Knights were up 25-23. In the second half, the Knights stepped up the D as Abby Weideman gets a huge block. They also got lots of help from their bench as Bobby Burrows steals the pass and gets the easy 2. And in the very next possession, she hits a 3. Burrows had 13 points off the bench. The Norse tried to keep it close as Megan Kopnick makes the runner in the lane, pulling the Norse within 6. But the Knights were just too much as Abby Weideman. But the Knights were just too much as Abby Weideman gets an and 1 and makes the free throw, putting the Knights up 10 with 2 minutes to go. The Knights would secure the last rebound and win. The final score 61-54. That win gave the Knights their first of the week after a Monday loss to Loris. They would face off against the Dewhawks again on Saturday. More on that game later on.
Minutes after the women's game ended, the men's team tried to make it 2 for 2 against Luther this season. This is a huge rivalry game for both teams, and Wartburg's getting pumped up. It showed early on defense as Eddie Deemer swats it out of bounds. Get it out of my house, he says. But the Norse are on fire early as Michael Crocker and a few other Norsemen are able to connect on threes, and Luther has an early 13-6 advantage. The Knights fought back as Eddie Deemer makes a good move to get up and over his defender. There's the nice hook shot right there, and a couple possessions later, he gets a no-look pass from Mitch Murphy, and he's wide open to throw it down. Late in the second half, Deemer would go to the ground from an ankle injury. He would be out for the rest of the game. At halftime, Luther is up 35-32. In the second half, the Levick Lunatics are as loud as ever, and that helps spark the Knights as Thomas Perkins slices through the D for a couple points. Clay Cook also worked hard down low, and there's another 2 points for the big man. On defense, Drew Crawford gets a huge block on the attempted 3, and on the other side of the court, it leads to Brett Algren, and this and 1 play, he would go on to drive it in the lane. He would go on to make the free throw, and it's just a 5-point game with 8 minutes to go. But down the stretch, Luther is just too much as Aaron Huber hits the 3, and then Michael Crocker drives to the lane and finds a wide open Tyler Wedemeyer for the layup and the foul. He would make the free throw, and Luther wins 75-61. The loss drops Wartburg 2 games behind the Norse in IIAC play. The men's team also lost earlier last week to Loris, but they would have a chance to avenge that loss on Saturday.
And we'll skip ahead to that game right now. Coming off a devastating loss against Luther Wednesday, the Knights faced problems on the injury front. They were without Eddie Deemer after he sprained his ankle against the Norse. So how would they fare against the Dewhawks? Wartburg came off firing on all cylinders, starting with this 3 by junior Thomas Perkins to put the Knights up 8. Junior Tanner Kramer extended the lead further after getting clobbered on this 3 to get the rare 4-point play. The Orange and Black were dominant in the first half, getting up as much as 17 with 10 minutes left thanks to this pass from Brett Algren to sophomore Dan Van Groningen. They slowed down a bit and went to halftime, still up by 10. The Knights were still in control throughout the majority of the second half as Van Groningen drains one from deep here. But Loris got on a roll with 10 minutes left and went on a massive 12-0 run, starting with his layup by Jake Rutin. The Duhawks caught up with Wartburg with 6 minutes left off this corner three from Aaron Schuler. Loris got their first lead of the game here thanks to Schuler's pass to Ryan Kuhn for the easy lay-in. Wartburg fought back though and retook the lead as Mitchell Murphy fights his way into the paint for the layup. Murphy does it again here with the great Dwayne Wade Euro step to extend the lead to 6 with 3 minutes left. The Duhawks try to get back in the game with the steal and score by Bobby Harmoning, but the Knights made their free throws at the end and put the game away to win 58-55. Let's hear from Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, we just knew we had to dig deep and play hard every possession. I mean, we came out strong, so I mean, it's a good win for us, get us back on track.
Van Groningen was also a big factor, scoring a career-high 12 points. Murphy pitched in with 11, including 6 in the second half. Wartburg is now 11-7 overall and 6-2 in conference play, and will head to Dubuque Wednesday to face off against the Spartans.
Still to come later on in Sports Night, the Waverly Shell Rock basketball team was also in action against a conference rival.
And the wrestling team competed in the Iowa Conference duels. Could they continue their run of success?
Back to Sports Night. The men's and women's track teams had a home meet against Grandview on Friday and Saturday. Let's see how they did. What was supposed to be a 4-team meet ended up as a duel with 2 teams dropping out due to weather. The women's team ran strong with Wartburg winning every single event except for one, the 60-meter dash. The men's team would go on to win 11 events out of the 16. The field events also went well, with Kyla Heeman winning the shot put. The men's team dominated that event also, finishing 1, 2, and 3. Putting a cherry on top of the day, the men's team won the 4x400 track's final race. Next up for the Knights is their very own meet. They'll host the Wartburg Select next weekend in Hoover Fieldhouse.
I think the biggest thing is this week we really focus on what I just told the athletes. We kind of really literally trained through this week. Our schedule was different because of honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Day on Monday. We focused on service this week and prioritized that. And so our schedule changed in terms of our workouts. So I think we're definitely on schedule.
This week's Senior Spotlight focuses on one of Wartburg's biggest stars on the oval.
Kendra Kriegel is as dedicated, passionate, and hardworking as any athlete here at Wartburg College. And no one can advocate more for the senior than girls head track coach Marcus Newsom.
Tremendous leader, just a woman of great character, and probably one of the hardest workers I've coached.
Kendra chose Wartburg not only because of its great tradition and history, but because she knew she would be pushed to become a better athlete and better person.
I wanted to be a part of something that was bigger, and I knew that to compete at the level I wanted to compete at, I would have to go somewhere where there would be people to train with and push me to get to where I wanted to go.
One of her biggest supporters was Coach Newsom.
Coach Newsom is one of the greatest men I have ever met in my life. He's really strong on faith and passion, and absolutely loves the sport and absolutely loves each and every one of his athletes. He thinks of us as his own children, and I wouldn't want to run for any other coach.
Last year marked Kendra's most dominant year so far at Wartburg, helping her team capture their 3rd national title in 4 years.
Indoor nationals last year was probably the most inspirational and part that sticks out the most, because that's when Coach Newsom's sister was struggling. So we weren't just competing for ourselves and for Wartburg, but we were competing for Natalie as well. And then to win the way we won for her just meant a lot.
With last year's title in the distant past, Kendra is now warming up for her final year here at Wartburg.
She's my example in terms of, for my younger athletes, if you follow these footsteps, then there's nothing you can't accomplish.
So what's in store for this year's track and field team?
I just want this program to do the same thing again this year, prove everyone in the nation wrong that we are still the same dominant team that we've been in the past, and we're going to keep proving that to people.
As for individual goals, Coach Newsom's got a few in mind, for his senior athlete.
And so, for me, my last goal is I told her I wanted to make her an individual national champion, and I'm going to exhaust all options to see that dream comes true.
Reporting for SportsKnight, I'm Seth Nutting.
Ranked wrestling squad stepped out of conference for a duel against 28th ranked Cornell. It was senior night at Levick Arena as Knight seniors Dylan Azinger, Andrew Johnson, Phil Hawes, Tommy Maroka, Cody Silvestri, and Matt Versillo were honored before the meet. The duel did not get started the way Wartburg wanted, as Gilberto Camacho was upset via a takedown at the buzzer, but the Knights went on a roll after that first match. Second-ranked Cody Silvestri won the match of the night, defeating fourth-ranked Trevor Engel 13-9. Wartburg tallied a total of 4 pins en route to a 34-13 victory over their former Iowa Conference foe. The Knights won 7 of 10 matches, including Maroka and Sam Upaw winning their 20th matches of the season. It's about that time of the year, the time where the Wartburg wrestling team proves itself as the best in the country. On Saturday, the team traveled to Dubuque for the Iowa Conference duels. SportsKnight's Shelby Granath was there for all the action.
Up first for Wartburg was Central. The only 2 Knights to lose were number 3 Gilberto Camacho and Phil Hawes. Number 1 Kenny Anderson and number 1 Landon Williams each recorded pins for the orange and black. In the end, Wartburg defeated Central 34-6. Next up for the Knights was the Beavers from Buena Vista. In a duel that only lasted 35 minutes, Wartburg dominated BV by a final of 53-0. Anderson, Brandon Welter, Puna Soriano, and number 6 Ryan Fank all won by fall. And finally, it was number 1 Wartburg up against number 26 University of Dubuque. Camacho and Hawes won by major decisions. Anderson and Williams won by technical falls. And number 2 Cody Silvestri, Gerard Roman, and Fank all won by falls. Number 3 Cole Welter added a decision win as well. In the end, Wartburg defeated UD 39-6. Reporting for SportsKnight, I'm Shelby Granath.
For more on the Iowa Conference duels, check out our Facebook page. The Knights will be taking on Augsburg later this week in the annual Battle of the Bergs.
We dug a really big hole, and it's really hard to get out against a really good team.
Up next on SportsKnight, the women's team played against Saturday against Loras. Did they keep up with the Dewhawks?
And 2 basketball players will be joining me in studio. Stay tuned for all their comments on the season. Welcome back to SportsKnight. The women's basketball team has been solid in conference play this year with a 5-2 record, good for 3rd in the Iowa Conference. On Saturday, they were in Levick Arena as they faced second-place Loras. SportsKnight's Justin Szykowny was there to catch all the action. Early on, the Knights get off to a good start as Bailey O'Brien, more on her later, finds Abby Weideman cutting for the senior connection and the easy lay-in. Weideman does it again here with a 3, and that would give Wartburg a 1-point lead early on. After that, though, the orange and black go cold, and the Dewhawks took advantage, starting with a tray by Kelly Rogowski. Then they poured it on even more with a 3 from Katie Wheeler to go into halftime with a massive 31-14 lead for Loras. They didn't let up in the second half and maintained their lead thanks to a jumper later on that you'll see right here by Britt Kent. And Abby Weideman was the lone bright spot for the Knights with 12 points, but her effort was far from enough as Wartburg falls 67-52. Joining me in studio now are basketball players Mary Brown and Bailey O'Brien. I know tough to watch some of that footage. Your team has been a bit cold lately. What needs to change for you to get back to the way you were playing at the beginning of the conference season?
I think that we really need to look to push the tempo more. We have been kind of like laying back, but we are really needing to go get after people right now.
Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we play best like when we push tempo, because then I think it just helps us get post touches, and I think like our coaches have reiterated, the more post touches we get, the more easy offense kind of comes. We've kind of been getting an offensive slumps, which I mean, I think we can easily fix. We have a lot to grow in such a short time, but it's exciting to know it's an easy fix.
And Coach Amsbury, talking to him earlier this season, intentionally scheduled a very tough schedule, the Iowa Conference, naturally difficult, and a lot of difficult non-conference opponents. How would you say that schedule has prepared you for this season?
I think it's helped tremendously because I think we're younger, and I think that helps because we need that experience to learn how to fight and win a game. No matter how we do it, we just need to learn to fight and win. And like playing those tougher teams and traveling, I think has helped us grow, like take our bigger steps. Now we just gotta keep that roller coaster.
Yeah, I also think that at the beginning of the year we also lost some very close games, but it taught us how we need to keep fighting all the way through to the very end.
And you mentioned some of that youth on this team, only one returning starter in Abby Weideman. What has the team chemistry situation been like with so many new players getting used to playing with each other?
See, I think when we have it, it's great. And I think sometimes we're just still new to each other and still, like, we forget what, like, we know we can play to each other's strengths, but sometimes I think we just get lackadaisical in it. But I think it's meshed well for having only one returner starter.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, we are growing together throughout the season more and more. Like, we're getting used to playing with each other, knowing what everyone likes to do, but we'll just keep getting better throughout the year.
And this team historically has been very good in the regular season and kind of flamed out in the Iowa Conference tournament. What are you doing to change that? Can this be a reverse maybe where you struggle a bit in the regular season and then you come on late in the season?
Well, I think it's because since we are so young, we are still growing, so we're not peaking as early, so our top of our game will come later on.
Hopefully. I think so, too.
Will.
I just think, yeah. I mean, it's not like an excuse that we're young, but I just think to understand the importance of conference wins and non-season wins, so hopefully we can carry that over and focus in these last short 3 weeks we have left and come out with some big wins.
All right, I wish we had more time to talk to both of you, but we don't. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Stay tuned to SportsKnight because still to come.
Are the standards and expectations for Wartburg athletes the same as Division I athletes? I'll let you know next in Inside the Numbers.
Teo, Armstrong, Sandusky. These are all names thrown around in sports media lately. This week's SportsKnight Shelby Granath does Inside the Numbers with how those stories affect other athletes and leaders.
We've seen the headlines. We've read the articles. We've heard the stories.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes. This girl who I committed myself to died on September 12th. Now I get a phone call on December 6th saying that she's alive.
I was unfaithful. I had affairs. I cheated.
When there's a scandal, specifically in the world of sports, the media instantly takes the facts and runs with them without looking back.
News, sports media will always be attracted to the most popular news value, and the most popular, prominent news value is conflict.
The athlete gets a lot of glory if something good happens, but if something goes negative, it's a big story the other way around.
Athletes are put under a microscope as leaders and role models. But does the media only focus on the negatives?
We hear about these very isolated events, and we make them larger than what they need to be.
There's a lot more coverage for negative stories and for negative ethical situations, for negative morality.
The news media attention will always go there. It doesn't matter that they're athletes or not.
Because of the high-profile nature of athletes, there is an interest in their professional and personal lives, even the negative stories. This makes other athletes who are considered leaders and role models potentially appear in a negative way.
It's kind of just disrespectful to other leaders out there because some other people are doing it the right way, and then you have guys who are doing it the wrong way.
And I think you just have to do your best to hold up your end. Obviously, everyone can't do it.
It just reinforces to me that what could happen to our kids, and so that's why we're constantly talking about doing the right thing.
Our youth are growing up idolizing some of the wrong people, and they're always going to emulate who their leaders are, or who they look up to, or their role models might be.
The athletes most people idolize are professional or Division I athletes. But what about Wartburg? Are Division III athletes held to the same standards as Division I athletes?
I feel that I'm not put on as big of a pedestal as those guys are. I mean, we don't get the national recognition that those guys do. We're not put on SportsCenter on a weekly basis like they are.
I don't think they should be held to any higher standard than what we would hold any other person or we would hold ourselves.
I think there's a lot of people that recognize you as an athlete on Wartburg's campus and see you out in the community, and there's definitely people watching.
I think it's fair to treat all NCAA athletes the same, to hold them to the same standards.
So what are the expectations of an athlete at a Division III school like Wartburg?
Live a championship lifestyle. Go to class, go to practice, stay out of trouble.
To be the best person that you can be, to represent yourself, your family, the institution, to the best of your ability.
People are congratulating you, patting on the back, telling you how good you are, but hey man, you got responsibility that goes with that.
So, whether they like it or not, or whether it's fair or not fair, our society keeps a close eye on athletes and their personal lives, no matter if that person is a professional golfer, a football player at Notre Dame, or an athlete at Wartburg College. Reporting for SportsKnight, I'm Shelby Granath.
We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Welcome back to SportsKnight. The Waverly Shell Rock boys basketball team was looking to avenge an overtime loss to Charles City at home on Friday. Nathan Ford was there, so let's get to the highlights. Charles City set the tone early in this one as the aptly named Trey Forsyth knocks down the tray, and the Comets are up after one. But Clint Carlson says he can do that as well. He hits the long ball. Go Hawks close the half on a 14-4 run and lead 29-18 at the break. WSR would begin to pull away in the second half as Carlson makes a nice spin move in the lane and finishes at the basket, and that's why he's a UNI recruit. Then later on, Carlson would get a steal and continue his own personal show. He races down the floor to make a beautiful no-look pass. Sean Westendorf is wide open. He scores easily off glass, and Go Hawks win easily 62-41. Carlson led the Go Hawks with 22 points as they improved to 7-2 in the Northeast Iowa Conference. WSR improved their winning streak to 9 by defeating Cedar Falls 47-40 on Saturday.
It's time to reveal who our Athlete of the Week is. Our Athlete of the Week is sophomore Dan Van Groningen. The Oak Forest, Illinois native had a record-setting week on the court, scoring a career-high 12 points in Saturday's win against Loras. Dan also had 8 points and 4 rebounds against Luther on Wednesday.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we're going to have for Sports Night tonight. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.
Both Wartburg basketball teams will be away from Lubbock Arena this week, first at Dubuque on Wednesday and Central on Saturday.
But don't forget the Battle of the Bergs coming up this week for the wrestling team, and the track team has the Wartburg Indoor Select next week. More on that in next week's show. Good night.